All right, so in this video, we'll pick random numbers and translate that to a random computer player who plays rock, paper, or scissors. So we're going to build on what we already have. We won't redo all of the game logic, but to actually generate the random number, as the hint says here, you need to use something called rand int. So if you did Google it, you would end up here on the documentation, or you could end up a lot of places, but this is one of the places you would end up. And what you see here is that there's something called random, which is, it's a module. We haven't talked about modules yet, so I'm not going to get into the weeds too far. Basically, it's code that we can include, that this comes kind of built in with Python, but it's not fully built in the sense that you have to include it yourself. So you don't have to download anything, you don't have to go install anything, you just have to tell Python, hey, I want to use that one thing in this file. So it's part of random, the random module. And let's just do a search for rand int, because there's a lot of things, different functions that come with random. But rand int, so random.randint, returns a random integer, and it's called n in this case, such that it's between a and b inclusive. So see that it's less than or equal to and less than or equal to b, greater than or equal to a. So what we could do is generate one between 0 and 2, for example. So then our choices would be 0, 1, and 2. So let me show you how to use it first. So I'm actually going to open up just Python 3. And if I try and just do random.randint from 0 to 2, it tells me random is not defined. Let me make that a bit larger. So what we need to do first is say, I need to import random, just like that. And now I can do, I'll just recall that line, random.randint from 0 to 2. So it's going to be a random integer from either 0, 1, or 2. As you can see, there we go. I got a 1 as well. So there are other random functions that will generate a random float, but we don't want that really because an integer is much easier. Okay, so we're going to use this and write a conditional that says if the random number is 0, computer equals scissors or paper, or whatever we want to assign it to. So I'm going to quit out of here. And I'm going to make a new file, and I'm going to call this one computer version. I'll just call it v3 to be consistent, .py. And I'll open that one up. And I'll just start by pasting in our old version. And we can go ahead and delete basically the part where we ask player 2 for input. And I'm going to comment everything else out for now and just start by getting our basic logic to generate a random number to work. So I'll even comment that all out. And the first thing we'll do up top is add that import random so that we have access to random.randint. Okay? And then I'm going to make a variable, and I'm just going to call it randnum equals random.randint from 0 to 2. Now, to be clear, we could do from 1 to 3 or 10 to 12 or -5 to -7. It's totally up to you. 0 to 2 is the easiest, but we just need 3 random integers. And then what we're going to do is basically say, all right, if randnum equals, let's start with 0, then computer move equals rock. And I'll just call it computer. So then down here, we'll be comparing player 1 to computer. And then we'll do an elif randnum equals 1. If that's the case, let's say that computer equals paper. And then we can just do an else because there's not any other situation other than 2. Because the way this randint works, it returns 0, 1, or 2. And so in that case, we'll say computer equals scissors. So let's test this. Let's just print computer. Okay, so we generate a random number from 0 to 2 inclusive, and then we assign a variable computer to be rock, paper, scissors, and then we print out computer. So let's try it. Python 3, I called it v3. Okay, so we got scissors, 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 paper, paper. Give me a rock, come on. I know you can do it. Jeez, come on. There we go. So it is possible. Okay, so we finally got a rock. So you can see those are the 3 options, paper, scissors, or rock. Okay, so I'm going to stop doing that so I just don't go crazy. And let's go back to our code. And now we need to make some changes. The first thing that I'll do is rather than player 1, I'll just call this variable player. And then all my logic down here, I need to update these. So instead of player 1, we're going to do player, and we're going to compare that to computer. Same thing here. We'll change this to be computer. Anytime we see player 2, it's computer. But otherwise, the logic is the same. And then player 1, I'm just changing to player just for clarity's sake. It might be confusing if we had a player 1 and no player 2. And then we'll update all of these messages in just a moment. Okay, so that looks good to me. The next thing we'll do is update these. So player wins, I'm just going to copy that and replace player 1 wins. And then instead of player 2, we'll say computer wins. And I'm just going to copy that and duplicate it. Instead of player 2 wins, we'll change it to computer wins. Okay, so let's just see if we have any errors. It's always a good chance that we might. Oh, what do you know? I'm missing a colon again. Who would have thought? Me missing a colon. Okay, player 1, make your move. I will go with rock. And so we're not really displaying this very well. We should change this to say computer plays. And rather than just concatenating, let's use an F string. So then in here we need our little curly braces. Perfect. Let's test it out again. So I'll play paper this time. Computer plays scissors. Computer wins. I'll play paper again. Computer plays rock. Player wins. So a really simple change we could make is to make it case insensitive. And basically all we care about is that a player could enter in capital R for rock or capital P for paper or all caps. And there's a really easy way to get around that. To basically, we take all of the input from the player and we turn it into lowercase. And the way we do that, we haven't really talked about this either. So another sneak preview of where we're going, but this is a string function that will take a string and turn it to lowercase. So if I opened up Python 3 and I did hello dot lower, we get hello in lowercase. Same thing if I did rock with CK uppercased, it lowercases it. So it basically takes everything coming in from input, whatever the user types, rock, paper, or scissors, however it's capitalized, we turn it all into lowercase. And then that's all we need to do because we're just comparing it now to the string rock here and paper. Of course, we could also turn it into uppercase and just compare it to all uppercase. Either direction, we go up or down to lowercase. Now, one last change we could make, we can be done here, but if we wanted to shorten this even more, so if you step through the logic, so let's say player played rock, I played rock, and the first thing we check was, did the computer play rock? And if the answer is no, okay, then we move on. So if Colt or player played rock, did the computer play scissors? If so, the computer wins. Then we have an elif computer plays paper. But what other choice is there for the computer? Because unlike in the previous example where we had 2 humans, so player 2 could have entered anything, computer has only 3 choices. It's rock, paper, or scissors. Exactly that and nothing else. So we don't even have to check here, is computer paper? We can just do an else, print computer wins. So hopefully that makes sense because let's again step through that. If I play rock, if the computer played rock, it's a tie. If the computer played scissors, I win. And the only other option is that the computer wins because the computer played paper. That's the only, there's only 3 choices. So we can do that same thing down here, just refactor that. Now, some people would argue that it's actually better to keep this to be more explicit because now you can see, all right, this only occurs when computer plays rock. But other people would say it's better to be more succinct and we don't need to have that additional logic. Totally up to you. Okay, so I'll just change this down here to say, please enter a valid move. See if I somehow forgot another colon somewhere. Okay, so let's say I play paper. Computer plays paper, it's a tie. I play paper again. Computer plays rock. This time I play something that doesn't make sense, like Jello. Please enter a valid move. The only thing I would change, instead of saying player 1, let's change this to player, make your move. Okay, and one last really quick thing that we can change. If we're only using rand int from random, we can actually change this to be from random import rand int. And then down here, I'm able to just reference rand int. So it's just the exact same thing, but up here I'm only importing rand int, and then I can use rand int directly without having to say random.rand int. So minor change. Just make sure that I didn't break it. Rock, computer plays paper, computer wins. Okay, we're done. Congratulations if you made it through that, or if you achieved it on your own. It's an achievement just to watch a video this long. I try and keep videos shorter, so I apologize if you fell asleep. But we're done with rock, paper, scissors. We talked about rand int and import. We will come back to those when we talk about modules. All right, moving on, we're now going to talk about loops. So ways of repeating things in our code, which would really help with this game, to be honest, because right now you play this game once and then you're done. But what if we wanted to play best of 5 and keep score and have the game start over? Well, with loops, we'll be able to do that.